this video, we will review the Memorandum of Agreement, or the MOA as we call it. So this is due September 13th and to the coach by the 4th of September. So we need to get on it now. First of all, the purpose of the Memorandum of Agreement is actually to create a living document that maps out and details your plan of action for the internship. The premise for this is that leaders possess the understanding and ability to devise and implement a complex, detailed plan. So the MOA is actually your proof that you're capable of organizing a complex project of independent work over the 9 months of the intervening school year and complete several tasks on deadlines and timelines, consult with others, and do a professional job. This paper should be 7 to 10 pages, and it should be in the typical format that all of our papers for the internship are done. Double-spaced, 12-point font, etc., APA style. The method is to work collaboratively with your coach and your cooperating administrator, typically your principal, and develop an MOA that meets the SPA requirements and the NCATE requirements for an internship of 450 hours over the various projects. We've devised a number of aids and materials for you, including directions, of course, your internship coach, the cooperating administrator who's there, internship instructors who will evaluate your work, but of course, if you have questions about anything that I've left unclear, you should check with them and confirm for yourself that you understand what's expected of you and how it should be delivered. We use these instructions to structure the compilation of your MOA. So clearly, if you want to succeed in something, it's a good idea to map backward. So sometime in the end of March, you should be assembling your final reflection on the whole internship experience, and then mapping forward from there each project. For example, your last project is the project you design with your principal to do in the school, and you should have that project very clearly mapped out, its beginning and end, the amount of hours that you need to spend on it, and what specific steps you've identified that need to be correctly completed in order to finish the project. And the better job you do of laying that out, the easier it is to follow your own blueprint and get it done. So you should do that for every single project from the first to the last project, but I would recommend that you map it backwards from the last project to the first project so that you have a very clear sense of how you're going to be pacing yourself over the next 9 months in order to get this thing done in a timely fashion that meets our requirements. So let me just walk through very quickly each of the projects that you'll be describing. I've already discussed with you the audit, the environmental audit of your school. It's an extremely important first step because first it gives your coach really good information to understand the context of the school he's supposed to support you in. So this is a valuable thing for him, but it's also valuable for you in that it gives you a good sense of the strengths and weaknesses of your school and what kinds of things, thinking as a leader, you would be most concerned about attending to as you proceed um, to make improvements in this school and to manage the difficulties that are inevitably a part of school leadership. Now, the principal shadowing project is the second assignment, and this has really historically been one of the most popular assignments that our students do during the internship. You can find three principals. One of them can be the person in your building, but doesn't have to be. If it serves your needs better to pick a third person outside of the school or outside of the network you're in, then please do so. The only requirement is that you follow them for an entire day from early morning until the principal leaves at the end of the day. And that every 20 minutes you write down, or every 15 minutes you write down what the principal is doing during that particular 15-minute block most often. So you kind of summarize what their activity or work has been during that 15-minute block of time. The better notes you take and the more diligent you are about taking them, the more helpful it's going to be as you start to map out the various categories of work that principals tend to do during the day you're following them. Now, we realize that you may have an atypical day. However, your task for this particular day is faithfully record what happens. You know, if there are confidential things taking place, you can just put in something generic that doesn't identify the participants. You could say a parent or a student without mentioning the student's name. The idea is to have useful information about the day and also to assess how this person is practicing leadership in their school. Okay. You need to visit 3 school leaders. Now, there are a variety of ways to go about this. For example, if I were a woman, I would be very interested in seeing how other women leaders manage the other adults in the building, how they interact with men, how they interact with other women, what their leadership style is like, how collaborative they are in their decision making, how inclusive they are during the day. Are they instructional leaders, administrators? How do these people go about the job? And then when you compare and contrast each of these leaders with each other, you get a pretty strong sense of what works and doesn't work, and whether any of what you've seen would be useful to you in your leadership style. So have a good sense of your own leadership style. Look for people who have that style or a similar style. And then you can get the most in terms of leveraging how they actually make their leadership effective or not, depending on who you pick. But my bias is pick strong leaders because you're looking for role models. You're looking for people who you can actually study and learn from on the job. So that's my advice. You could choose to do it completely differently. I'm just saying this is what I would do. I would try to get the most mileage I could get out of my 3 visits. If I have a specific kind of school in mind that I want to build or run or lead, that might be a very important consideration as well. But I personally wouldn't. We see enough leadership failure, and you've looked at enough in 4001. I don't think you need any more. My advice is find strong leaders who you can match yourself to and learn from and use. And whatever works for you in that respect will be fine with us. The teacher evaluation project is straightforward. We generally don't like for you to, again, to pick a weak teacher who's in trouble. You'll get enough opportunities to do that as you go along in your career. Right now, it would be more useful for you as a novice evaluator of teachers, assuming you are a novice. I mean, you might already be doing this as part of your work. So, if you are a novice, try to find someone who's fairly stable and competent who can actually help you understand how to be an effective and useful evaluator from their perspective. After all, the point of evaluation should be to make the person a stronger teacher, and they can help you focus your feedback. And if they're highly experienced, they'll be helpful to you in doing that. So again, I would look for someone who's a skillful teacher who could actually help me improve my game when it comes to teacher evaluation on behalf of future students. But it's your call. But you will have to complete the you know, pre-conference scripting of the lesson, post-conference, um, and you do that 3 times and then do a summative evaluation at the end. Now, the thing that's really important about this is that you then debrief with the teacher about what has been useful and not useful in the feedback you've given them at their request. So if they're good, they will point out things that they did that you didn't catch or notice that you should have. That was extremely important to their success as a teacher. That's what you're hoping to get at the end, is really good feedback from the teacher about how useful what you're doing is. The curriculum case study, again, you're doing some kind of curricular improvement project in your school that has a definite goal and outcome. And the success with this project is meticulously documenting what the problem is, what your implementation is going to be, and then the fidelity of your implementation. How thoroughly did you implement it, and then uh, any kind of outcomes you can access around that implementation that will give you feedback on how effective it's been. The resource allocation audit should be some specific part of the school budget that you can analyze and give feedback on. From my perspective, there should be trend data. It is the amount of resources being allocated increasing, decreasing, staying the same? Is it a significant part of the budget? Um, I I think for these particular kinds of projects, use of special education funding is a great specific thing to pick. So I'd encourage you to do that. The Leadership Initiative Project is basically something you work out with the school leader. So this is where you have some freedom to get away from all the structure and actually dig into some area of leadership. It could be an after-school program. It could be trying to leverage creative problem solving in the curriculum. Anything that's outside of the box adds value to the school and the principal's okay with. Those are sort of the main requirements for it. So after you write up this MOA, you meet with your coach and you go over the requirements for the MOA, lay out all the details. They have them look at it, and if they're happy with it, they sign off on it. Your administrator signs off on it, and you sign off on it, and then you send the document to us. So, and this will become your contract for your internship. All right, I think that gives you a pretty good overview, and there's a ton of detail in here if you want more or need more. There are also some samples from previous students. They're not exemplars, but they're samples, so take it with a grain of salt, right? But they will be useful to kind of point you in the right direction for how this is done. logistically. All right, good luck.